AITA for telling my brother the truth on why I don't ask him for anything. I, 19F, have 3 brothers, 27, 28 and 32. My oldest brother, Dave, got married to Sarah in May. I study halfway across the world from my hometown where my family are. I got really sick a few months ago and rushed to the nearest hospital. Turns out they don't accept my insurance and I had to pay out of pocket. I was €50 short and called everyone I could but no one was picking up. I then called my oldest brother, Dave, because he always picks up, and asked him to send me €50 and I would send it back once I get paid in a few days. He told me not to be ridiculous and he didn't need me to pay him back €50. Sarah called me that night and asked how I was doing. After the chit-chat, she asked if I could ask someone else, the next time I need money, because my brother is a married man. I was shocked but I apologized and said I offered to pay him back. She said it's fine but next time, I should plan my finances in advance so I won't have to rely on a married man. It's my birthday soon and Dave called to ask what I wanted. I said nothing and that I was fine but I appreciated him asking. My other brother called to ask what I want, and I said I wanted some money to heat my apartment. I couldn't afford to heat it this month. He was baffled that I was so broke I couldn't afford heating and I wasn't saying anything. He started tearing up on the phone call with me and ended the call. And sent me $500 later. I guess he told Dave about the call with me because Dave called me, and started interrogating me on why I just told him I didn't need anything, and then asked my youngest brother. He sounded offended and asked why I feel like I can't rely on him. I asked, haven't you spoken to Sarah about this? He was confused on what I meant and I told him about the conversation I had with Sarah after he sent me the €50 for the hospital. He said he'd call me back but he hasn't. A cousin of mine sent me a message a few hours ago, saying I was a B for meddling in their marriage, and that Dave didn't owe me anything. I was like, when did I say Dave owed me anything? I have never relied on him for anything, nor do I plan on it. I mean, I feel bad that Dave and Sarah are fighting it. I can't help but feel weirded out that Sarah did that behind his back and he had no clue. I've been extremely anxious and I can't stop shaking. AIT, Update 1. So my middle brother called me yesterday and asked me to explain what's been going on and I did. He's always had quite the temper and got very angry about the Sarah situation. He mentioned how Dave is paying the rent for Sarah's 22-year-old brother's apartment. So for Sarah to ask me not to ask Dave for anything at all, was so messed up when her own brother is getting his rent paid every single month by Dave. TBH, this made me mad. It's okay for Dave to support her brother but God forbid he sends me €50 for an emergency, right? Anyway, Dave called me and we had a heart-to-heart conversation. I explained to him what I've been going through here and he was silent for a while. I did mention that if I was in urgent need of something, I still had my other 2 brothers to ask, so it really wasn't that terrible. He said he feels so guilty that I was suffering and he didn't know. He said he won't tell me the details about his discussion with his wife. But he was heartbroken that she would even think of telling me not to rely on him, and has asked her to give me an apology, which she said she did, but at the time of the call I hadn't received anything. I said I haven't gotten an apology from her and he told me to check my messages again, still nothing. He was silent for a while and just sighed. I also mentioned the text my cousin sent, which he asked me to forward to him. He said he felt so bad that people so much older than me were treating me like this and he will deal with so it never happens again. That was this morning. I got a message from Sarah 10 minutes ago. Not sure how that's meant to be an apology, but to summarize, she said, I'm sorry if you took what I said as you can't ever rely on your brother. He's your brother and I would never intentionally try to make you feel like he couldn't do anything for you. I'm also hurt that you couldn't speak to me if you had a problem with it. We could have solved this as sisters. Now WTF am I meant to say to that? I know she'll make Time the villain if I don't respond. Update 2, ladies and gentlemen, shit might just hit the fan for real this time. So I mentioned this in a few comments, but for those that haven't seen it, Sarah has this secret Twitter account that I follow her through a burner account. It doesn't have her picture or name, but I know it's her because my cousin commented on that account on Sarah's birthday saying happy birthday. Even with what she tweets, yeah, I could tell it was her. Anyway, she replied to a tweet of a woman who tweeted about how she has no in-laws, because her husband is an orphan with no siblings, and this bitch Sarah replied saying goals. Like, I don't understand how you could love your partner, and wish they had no family unless the family were genuinely toxic or something. But this was a step too far. She can dislike us all she wants, but tweeting this weird is so childish and petty to me. You wish your man had no family because of an incident over €50? Someone get this lady some help. Anyway, I sent it to my other 2 brothers, not Dave, and one of them forwarded it to him. Long story short, Dave was staying with my other brother for a few days after that day, and now he's moved back into his house, but Sarah is back in her hometown. I haven't spoken to Dave about it because I'm sure he's going through it, and he isn't the type to speak about his marital issues to me, so he wouldn't give me the tea anyway, but things do not look great. Not sure if this is relevant. But my other brother told me about an incident where Dave and Sarah had a sort of small argument months ago, on the dinner table, because Sarah was making fun of an old man she saw at the supermarket who was buying pads. She said she can't believe a woman in his life would embarrass him like that. Dave said it's not embarrassing and no one cares about men buying pads anymore. He mentioned that him and my other 2 brothers have done it for me multiple times. She then said something along the lines of, "You guys are going to make her incapable of doing anything for herself if you carry on like that." My other brother said she's our little sister, we're meant to do things for her. And no one cares about periods and pads except you. Dave said something to shut that whole conversation down, but she wasn't too happy about it and was silent the rest of the night. I'm not sure why she gets so annoyed when they do anything for me. Update 3. So Dave and Sarah are officially separated. He asked her to leave his home and said he'd rent her an apartment wherever she wants till they're officially divorced, after which point she can start paying it herself. Dave said he needed to speak to me about something important and FaceTimed me. Our family has a sort of tradition where families and friends buy a newborn baby gold jewelry so they can sell when they need to as adults. Kind of as financial insurance for the baby since gold won't lose its value. Many people in my family have used it to pay for university, their weddings, etc. My mom is a deadbeat and my dad is dead, so Dave has been keeping all the gold that was passed on to me. Anyway, he said he created a hole in the concrete of his house and stashed it, along with some other valuables. Don't ask me why he did that, I'm confused too. Sarah stole about half the stuff that was in it. He found out because the hole was in the closet of his bedroom. The hole was underneath the half of the closet that Sarah's clothes were covering. When Sarah had moved out and there were no clothes to cover every inch of her side of the closet, he realized the tiles that covered the hole were not fixed into place and looked very messy. Like it was obvious he hadn't left it like that himself. He called some guys to come drill the hole so he can make sure everything was inside, and he saw that half the stuff were missing. Dave said he hadn't ever mentioned the hole to Sarah, so he isn't sure how she found out. By the time he got in touch with her, he said he would call the police if she doesn't return everything. She brought back what she had but admitted she sold some of it, the jewelry that belonged to me. She said she would pay Dave back in cash for what it was worth but can't do anything else. She can't even pay for it if she wanted to. The only money she has is Dave's money. She claims to be mentally ill and said she'll check herself into a mental hospital. Dave is trying to sort everything, including their divorce, out with a lawyer. Dave said he'll replace all the jewelry for me and that I shouldn't worry about that, not that I even was though. There's no coming back from this for them. That should be that. She turned out so much worse than I thought and I can't even believe this story myself.